You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast PXN episode 108. I'm one of your hosts, Rashan, aka Rauw, and I'm joined by Dan, the Halo Man, Daniel Pendle, and the host of Large Popcorn, Christian Macias. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Nice.
I should be off playing Dread right now.
Me too. And more Metroid Dread talk at the games we're playing, of course. But before we get into that, let me thank you guys, everyone who's watching. Just a reminder, you could catch us live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Just search up Podcast PXN on Twitch and on YouTube, and you shall find us there. Our topic of the show is our Game of the Year watch. We're going to talk about our personal Game of the Years, what we think will be on the official list at Jeff Keighley's Game Awards as well. But first, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. And now, finally, guys, it is officially official. I feel like we've been talking about this particular trilogy for a while now, and Rockstar has finally come out and said, yes, it's coming. You guessed it, Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, the definitive edition, has been officially announced and is coming soon to consoles and PC. So on October 8th, Rockstar announced via a tweet on Twitter, they did a little montage of the three games with a nice little jazz. Maybe, I'm not sure what kind of genre of music it is, but it was very soothing. I like that. But they announced that it's going to be coming to consoles and PCs, as I earlier stated. Rockstar Games is going to reveal more details in the coming weeks. There are multiple gameplay and visual improvements, but Rockstar states that all the games still, quote, retain their classic look and feel, unquote. Apparently, the games are also coming to mobile next year, 2022. This also comes with the news that Rockstar is also removing all existing versions of each games that are included in this trilogy from digital storefronts as well. So you're just going to have to buy the trilogy, basically, if you want to be playing these games. Daniel, now that this has officially been announced, now that they still have a couple of things that they need to show off and tell us, but from what little that we know, how are you feeling, especially with the quote, retain their classic look and feel? What does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
I hope it's not just like another port, because I really want something more than that, and I'll be very disappointed if it's just like, here's a port of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for the 20th time, because we got that last gen, like on 360, we got a port of it. So I was really hoping for like updated visuals and like, improve it a little bit. It doesn't have to be like a full-blown remake like Resident Evil 4, because obviously this is a trilogy of 3 games, but like maybe like a Mass Effect, whatchamacallit, I forget the name of it. It's escaped me. But
Remaster?
Yes.
HD remaster?
Yeah, the
Legendary
edition. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Like if it was like that, that would be cool. Yeah. Because at least that's a little bit of a, step up. It's not just copy and paste. But yeah, I'll be interested in seeing how much this costs too. $70. I don't know.
That's the rumor, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, full title.
Yeah.
I would need to see it before I can justify any kind of price point, I think, because the wording that Rauw just read on like the game's description seems very like paradoxical. They talk about how it has gameplay and visual improvements while still retaining the classic look and feel. So which one is it? Are we improving it, or are we retaining the classic look and feel? I don't know, and until we see it, I can't speak on. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Christian, but like what you said is exactly like. Does that mean like we're getting rid of all the previous versions of the game? So like sometimes fans of series don't like when that happens. For instance, Halo: The Master Chief Collection had some visual issues with Halo CE and Halo 2 Anniversary and stuff like that they have now addressed, which we can talk about later. But like, if they do that situation where they're pulling all the original games and these new enhanced versions or whatever do something that fans don't like you can't get the original version now. Like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because originally I was very like kind of up in arms about like the way we think about retaining games. Like video games, just like we don't have like proper retention for these. It's like, oh, Rockstar's removing these games, like that seems like a very bad thing. And then I was I was on Point in Progress, the podcast last week, and Frank was talking about how like this is actually a good thing because the what's on the stores currently were these ports that Rockstar had like outsourced to other companies that just did like a terrible job and that are apparently still broken. So it's like, well, we can pull this broken product out and then give them like this new product that we had built in house, and that like I think is kind of a good pro consumer kind of move. I don't know what you guys think about that.
That does sound. I didn't realize that it wasn't a Rockstar thing that the ports that already existed on these platforms are. So it's good that they're making their own versions and getting rid of the ones that aren't up to snuff by their standards. And hopefully, whatever comes out with this trilogy is better and it is up to the standards that they want and that gamers, I guess, deserve. I don't even know if deserve is the right word, but yeah.
I'm gonna ask a quick question that I was asked on Point in Progress. Do we think that driving mechanics, are we gonna accelerate with X or R2? What do we think here?
God, X.
X.
Yeah.
Now, is it X on PlayStation or X on? No.
Oh gosh, I didn't even realize. Yeah, you're right, Dad. A, I guess.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
yeah.
Now I know. Yeah, that'd be
W
weird
on keyboard. I don't know.
Yeah. That would be weird to accelerate with A again. So maybe, I don't know, maybe update
Maybe
that.
that's one of the gameplay improvements that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Modernized controls.
Yeah. Hopefully. I still can't. That's another reason why I wasn't super into GTA 5 was just like the controls for me in that game are just so wonky. But yeah. Moving on to our next story, G4 has finally been announced. What did I say something?
I'm just laughing because the way we leave this story is you just like dissing GTA 5. All right, moving on.
Yeah. All right, anyways. Oh man. But yes, G4 is back officially. They've been teasing it as I'll read here. After more than a year of teasing and occasional streams, G4 will make its return as a linear TV channel on November 16th. So far, the channel is confirmed to appear on Comcast/Xfinity, Verizon Fios, Cox, and Filio, I guess. These are all American streaming or channels. I've never heard of most of these, so I may be pronouncing some of them wrong, so forgive me. Since announcing its return last year, G4 put out some reunion content plus occasional streams on Twitch, where the network will maintain a multi-year promotional and commercial partnership. When G4 comes back next month, some of the programming and hosts should be very familiar. Attack of the Show is back with host Kevin Pereira. Did I say that right?
Pereira. Yeah.
Pereira? Okay. Pereira. Well, X-Play, no longer X-Play, is again in the review business under the auspices of Adam Sessler. I don't know why I had a brain fart there.
You got it.
Adam Sessler. Along with some esports-focused series, G4 has also obtained U.S. streaming rights to Sasuke, aka Ninja Warrior, for old school fans who watched the original Japanese version on its cable channel.
So good.
So, you guys, I have a feeling that you guys are pretty familiar with G4, just based on what I was reading there. You seem to get some reaction out of you. Me, personally, haven't had a huge history with it. So I'm excited for it to be returning, getting to, enjoy these revamped versions of classic shows, I guess. But for you guys who have experienced G4, how excited are you guys for it to be making a return and it to be on actual television? Christian, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty excited. Like this G4, I feel like a lot of gamers have like a history of watching it. Like it was just like my comfort food of like this is kind of like the original. Like I want to hear some people talk about games, and this was the only way that I could really get it outside from like a literary format, like a magazine, was to watch G4. And so to see it come back, I think is really cool. I'm most excited to see how it's going to evolve rather than just like, it's like all the old stuff back, which I'm excited to see again. But I like we're older now. We want like we're used to new forms of entertainment. So I'm excited to see how they're going to evolve. One of the things that I was worried about was that if it was only going to be a cable thing, I'm not sure how much I was going to watch of G4. But Adam Sessler did tweet out that it is coming to Twitch as well. So I think having it be on an internet platform, I think is going to do a lot for like the gaming space. So I'm excited to check it out again.
Yeah, that's super important, Christian. Like you're saying, like if this was only on cable again, like this wouldn't, like I wouldn't be able to watch it. I'm sure, Christian, do you have cable at your place, or do you just do?
I have YouTube TV. Same
as me. So like people like us, we wouldn't have access to it regardless if they didn't stream it on Twitch. So that's awesome that they're gonna do that. And yeah, Adam Sessler is super cool. I loved all of his stuff on X-Play with Morgan Webb. Kevin Pereira is hilarious. I love him as well. And of course, I grew up watching every single GTTV episode with Jeff Keighley, and now Jeff Keighley's the biggest badass in gaming right now, putting on the Game Awards every year and all the other events that he does. So super, super cool to see this come back, and hopefully it does well. I want to see it continue to thrive.
Bring back Olivia Munn for one episode.
Yeah. Actually, I think she was in talks to come back, yeah. I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. Yeah. Maybe on November 16th, we shall find out. Here we go to our next story of the show, or our next PXN news story. Avowed reportedly has destructible environments and is deep into pre-production. So Daniel asked me to add this to the stories. Yes. I missed it, yes. But I know Daniel is a huge Obsidian fan, so we're going to dive into this one for him. I'm reading from IGN Kat Bailey. She writes, a little more than a year since its original announcement, we still know comparatively little about Avowed, the new first-person RPG from Obsidian based in the Pillars of Eternity universe. However, a new report by Windows Central appears to shed light on the project, revealing that it's well into pre-production and that it will feature many elements of Pillars of Eternity fans will be familiar with. They reportedly include familiar spells such as Jolting Touch and Heated Caress. Is that correct, Daniel?
I guess. I don't know.
I guess. As well as creatures such as Zorpus. Or Zorips is what I'm going to go with on that one. The report repeatedly compares Avowed to Skyrim and Oblivion, describing it as undoubtedly Obsidian's take on the Elder Scrolls. It may go as far to include indestructible environments with fire spells, leaving areas coated in flames. So Daniel, does that get you hyped?
Yeah.
It being compared to Elder Scrolls and all that.
Yes, I very much love that comparison. And like it's very similar to like Bethesda Game Studios, for instance. They historically switched between Elder Scrolls and Fallout, like back and forth between Fallout 3 and Oblivion and Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim and Fallout 4. Very similar here because they're going from Outer Worlds, which is very much a Fallout clone, and now they're going and making a Skyrim clone, essentially. But I do think it's going to be like their own thing because, like, from the way they're describing it, it feels like it's going to have, like, that humor and, like, that ambiance, I guess, that Outer Worlds has, but it's going to incorporate more, like, Skyrim gameplay elements and feel more like a Skyrim, you know, successor or whatever you want to call it. And it's also interesting, Nibelian, who he tweets out all kinds of stuff on Twitter, he put on there that it's going to be a first-person action RPG, which is obvious, but it's going to feature multiple class play styles, including two-handed combat and destructible environments. So, like, two-handed, like, the interesting thing is like multiple class play styles. Does that mean you're going to choose like what classes you get to play as, or is it going to be like a skill tree like Skyrim had, where you have your two-handed, your one-handed, and ranged and all that? I'm just so excited to learn more about this game. I love Obsidian, and give me some more Obsidian. I love it so much.
Christian, how are you excited for Avowed? Are you an Obsidian fanboy like Daniel here?
No, I missed a lot of Obsidian games. Like I like as Dan was talking, I realized like, I've never really had like multiple consoles or multiple means to like play all these games until like now in my adult life. So Obsidian is just like kind of those peripheral devs that I kind of missed a lot of these games on. I had to Google some of these games. So like I'm always down for any like to try out an RPG. Like I'm a little bit trepidatious. Not all Western RPGs like necessarily speak to me, especially not when like we're talking about like a Bethesda clone kind of game. I tried playing Oblivion back on the PS3 days, and I tried Skyrim as well. And they weren't for me at that time. I would gladly try them again. Maybe I will with like I don't know, on my PC or something. But from what I've seen, I know, right? I can play like anywhere now. From what I've seen of people talking about this, and just reading a little bit about like the dual wielding like powers and stuff with your hands, I think this seems like a game that like quite possibly like might be pretty cool to check out at the bare minimum. So just based off discussions that like Dan had on Twitter, like I'm cautiously optimistic about this game.
Definitely. Yeah, it seems really cool. I'm more on Christian side for this one. Obsidian is just not a developer that I paid a lot of attention to when gaming in my youth, and as I got older, I was never attached to those games because I just never tried them out when I was younger. But reading this stuff, it does seem neat. So maybe I will check it out when the time comes and when it comes around the corner. Daniel still keeps telling me that I should be playing Outer Worlds?
Yes.
Outer Worlds, yes. And I still haven't beaten it yet.
Instead.
And then Christian will come over and tell me to play Outer Wilds. and then I just go play Destiny instead. But moving on to a game you all should be playing, Metroid Dread is the highest grossing Metroid game launch in UK history. I am reading from Game Industry. Metroid Dread, or GameIndustry.biz, sorry. Gotta give the full name in there. Metroid Dread on Nintendo Switch is the highest grossing Metroid game launch in the UK to date, eclipsing the original Metroid Prime on the GameCube. In terms of unit sales, Metroid Dread was less than 1,000 units away from overtaking Metroid Prime. Of course, digital data is missing, and it's safe to say that Metroid Dread sold over 1,000 downloads in the UK. Therefore, we can confidently state that Metroid Dread is also the fastest Metroid game to date. The game sold 3.5 times more copies at launch than the last two-day Metroid games, Metroid Samus Returns, which launched on the 3DS in 2017 after the Switch had, I think, sold out is what they meant to say. Or maybe I copied it wrong. After the Switch had some out. Yeah, maybe sold out is what they're trying to say. My mistake. It's good news for Metroid, which is one of Nintendo's smaller franchises, but has a dedicated and vocal fan base. It is the 5th biggest Nintendo Switch launch of the year, behind Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, Monster Hunter Rise, and Pokemon Snap. So, Christian, I know you are playing Metroid Dread right now. Are you enjoying? Well, we'll talk about how much you're enjoying it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. But how did the numbers? Are you surprised by it being number 5 on the best Nintendo games, and what do you think it means for the series as a whole?
Yeah. First of all, behind Bowser's Fury is like tragically such a crime, because this game objectively, not even subjectively, like rocks.
Honestly,
but too, like
all of the games on this list, I think it should be above. But we'll talk about that after. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like I am so happy that this game is doing and selling well, because that just means like Nintendo is gonna hopefully gonna start looking at possibly getting more Metroid games out there. Like they don't put out Metroid games because like they notoriously like don't sell that well. But and I don't know what it is, if it's our climate of like kind of a lack of first party Switch games coming out, or what, or if just this game is just like different, because it does feel special. Yeah, having high sales numbers like just means a lot. I'm sure it means a lot to Nintendo, but also means more to the fan base, like the possibility of getting more Metroid games. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to like the next story that's kind of intrinsically tied into this Metroid Dread discussion.
Okay. Daniel, yeah, how do you feel about it selling so well in the UK, being the fastest Metroid game? Are you surprised by these numbers? And again, what do you think it means for the series?
Yeah, I don't think I'm surprised by the numbers because I think a lot of people have been very hyped about this, and the previews have been very positive coming into this. So I think it's something that people have been looking forward to for a long time that own a Switch. And actually, honestly, like you guys were talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, man, I really was already getting interested just by seeing like the gameplay, and I've never played a Metroid game before, so I'm like, man, this could be a good spot to just jump in and just see, get my feet wet, so to speak. And hopefully we get a Metroid Prime 4 reveal sometime soon for people who want to see that.
Or collection, dude.
Yeah, that's true. That's been rumored for a while, but nothing thus far. But yeah, if that collection ever comes, that would totally be a spot that I would jump into it because obviously I can play the whole trilogy and be excited for Metroid Prime 4 whenever that comes out. But yeah, I don't know. Retro, take your time. The fans will wait, just make a good game. So, yeah.
Heck yeah. What I was going to say about the list, though, Christian, with the like Bowser's Fury and all that kind of stuff, I guess it really isn't that surprising because those games are great games, but they're not like they are first party, but they're not new in any stretch. There's like Pokemon Snap, I guess, but that's a remake, and then there's Skyward Sword, which is a HD remaster, and it's like Metroid Samus or Metroid Dread is like one of the more original Nintendo games that's come out in a while. So I could definitely see it, hopefully, rising above those as the year goes on. Hopefully, because a lot of the games,
it's not the same level as like Caliber or like
exactly
evolution of a series in like the same way. Yeah, like a remaster and kind of an iteration of another 3D Mario. So,
So hopefully it gets the love that I think it deserves. But it seems like the series as a whole is getting a lot more love as Dread came out. The series has seen a spike in sales all over the Nintendo ecosystem. So obviously on the Switch, it's selling like hotcakes on this eShop. But on the Wii U, Metroid Fusion, Metroid Zero Mission, and Metroid Prime Trilogy and Super Metroid were all within the top 10 best-selling games, I think, on the week of October 11th. And on the 3DS, Metroid Samus Returns was number 3 on that week. So yeah, people are going back, checking out those games to get ready for Metroid Dread, or maybe beating Metroid Dread, like, hey, I want more Metroid. And yeah, they're going out and purchasing some more Metroid. So I hope that, like we're saying, hopefully that sends a signal to Nintendo saying that people are interested in this franchise and we want more of it. So, and Christian, you were going to say something to tie into this story?
Yeah, and this is just speculation on my account, so I guess take that with a grain of salt. But like for me, that says to me that people like are either playing Dread or like you said, maybe even getting ready for Dread. But like this just shows that like if you invest in a quality title like Metroid Dread, people will go out and kind of want to support this franchise. So whether it be like future games, hopefully Nintendo, or even like the past games, like you were gonna build a fan base by investing in your property. So I think this people voting with their wallets. That's the language everyone wants to use for this, right? I think people voting with their wallets with not just Dread, but the whole franchise in general, I think is really going to spark some kind of change or inspire some kind of, I don't know, put the fire underneath Nintendo to be like, you know what, maybe we need to give Metroid more of a second chance, more like a spotlight later down the road of maybe games not like this. This was like 14 years in the making, man. So
it's insane.
And maybe some opportunities to get some more Metroid titles, if anything. And I think figures like this might lead to that.
Yeah, definitely. Hope you are right, Christian. I would love some more Metroid. As someone who is relatively new to the franchise, I'm already in love with it. As we hinted, we'll talk about Metroid Dread later in the show. But moving on to another franchise that's doing really, really well, Final Fantasy XIV surpasses 24 million players, becomes the most profitable Final Fantasy game in the series. I'm reading from IGN. Matt Kim writes, during a recent hands-on preview event for the upcoming Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker expansion, director Naoki Yoshida, I guess I said that right.
You're getting all the crazy names
I know.
today.
How do you say his first name? Do you guys know? Naoki?
Let's see.
I know it's Yoshida, but Naoki?
Sure. Yeah.
Naoki
Naoki.
Yoshida-san?
I don't know.
Naoki. Naoki Yoshida. I think that sounds right. Apologies, Mr. Yoshida. Revealed that
I
Square
think
Enix.
Naoki's a woman, if I'm not mistaken,
So,
right?
so
Nope,
Naoki.
I am wrong.
Yeah.
Ignore me. I'm thinking about someone else.
Okay. Revealed that Square Enix popular MMORPG recently has surpassed 24 million players. Furthermore, it is the most profitable Final Fantasy game in the series. Speaking to press in a digital preview event, Yoshida revealed that the player count has hit 24 million players 11 years after Final Fantasy XIV was first released. 11 years this game has been out. Holy cow. In a chart Yoshida shared with the press, Final Fantasy XIV players count back to 2015 was 4 million registered players. The number hit 10 million by the time the third expansion, Stormblood, was released in 2017, before doubling in the next 4 years. First of all, wow, I didn't realize how long Final Fantasy XIV has been out. Second, that's awesome for them. Like, I know that they had a rocky launch at the start of this, so it's great that they've been able to turn it around and make it something that is the most profitable Final Fantasy ever, which I guess isn't so surprising, as it is the only one that kind of makes you pay to play it every month. But yeah, Daniel, are you surprised that Final Fantasy XIV is doing so well in this day and age, or is it just like, of course, Final Fantasy XIV is still doing good?
I mean, it only took them 14 titles to finally get the highest. No, I'm kidding. No, it's great for fans of Final Fantasy, and it's great to see that this franchise has stuck around for so long. But like, one of the coolest things that I think, as an outside viewer of this franchise, so to speak, because I don't really, get into the Final Fantasy games as much, is every single not every single, but a lot of the Final Fantasy games are like very different games. So like, this is an MMO RPG, but then they have like, I think the new one that they announced is like a completely different type of game. I remember us talking about it when they announced it, but I can't remember what type of game it is. But like, I just
love Bloodborne sort of.
Yes, that's right.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yes. Like, I just like how they're, expanding the franchise into more, different avenues. If there's one criticism I have of Halo, it's that it doesn't do enough of that. They did a little bit of that with Halo Wars, but I would love to see like more expansion of the franchise, like what Final Fantasy does, and kind of dip their toes into different genres and such.
Christian, are you a Final Fantasy XIV fan?
No, but my friends, Lord, do they love reminding me that I should be playing this game every week. It's like, you can play up to level 60 for free. Let me show you. It's like, you know what? Clickety games, like they aren't for me. I'm sorry, but I appreciate you. I'll watch you stream it like as much as you stream, but otherwise I don't think I'll be able to play it. But like, this doesn't surprise me though. Like, for a long time, Final Fantasy XIV has brought like quality teams to write these expansion packs, and I know, based off the people that I like kind of talk to about like their frustrations with like games like WoW or whatever, like there was a space where people like wanted a quality MMORPG that they weren't getting with their previous RPGs, and this is where Final Fantasy came in and kind of swept that market. Especially since we're all at home right now, we're still probably at home for the most part, like. And then having these free trials, Final Fantasy XIV set themselves up so well to just have a place in that market, and just to convince people to like, come on over, look at all these expansions we have. We're just launching all this new content, and like, they're doing a fantastic job of like stringing them along. And from what I've seen from my friends stream, and from what I've read about online, it's some quality like stuff. Like, it's like actually moving pieces of content. I don't think I'll play them. I'm sorry. Like, MMORs just aren't my thing. I'm sorry, but like. Massive respect to the teams at FF14.
Yes, definitely. Good job, you guys over at the Final Fantasy 14 team. Well done. Again, I'm also not I've tried it before. I've tried Final Fantasy 14 once before, and it was fun for a bit, but I just don't think I could sink that much time into another game like that, like Destiny, I guess, that requires you to play it like all the time. But yeah, I wish them all the best, and I wish them continued success because they're obviously doing something good over there. Yeah.
I remember I had a crush a long time ago who was like really into RuneScape, and that was like my first foray into like kind of like MMOs. Like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get into RuneScape too to like, you know,
get my RuneScape
like,
girlfriend.
get my way in with this girl, right? And like I played for like an hour. I was like, this is not worth it.
It's not
And
worth
then-
it.
it wasn't.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Things we'll do for love. Moving on to the next story. Disney teases a Star Wars video game announcement in December. Disney and Lucasfilm have teased a Star Wars video game announcement for December as part of a publishing campaign that will reveal new Star Wars products every Tuesday for the rest of the year. And yeah, apparently on 10 of this calendar, they're teasing a video game. What could it be? Could it be something as big as Jedi Fallen Order 2? Could it be something as small as a mobile game? We honestly don't know. But there's been a lot of Star Wars video games, like Star Wars Hunters is coming soon. They remade KOTOR as well. So Star Wars is getting a lot of love in the video game space these days. So here's hoping that it's something for us to get excited about. Daniel, what do you think this could be? Do you think it's something huge, or do you think it's going to be like a little bit more on the down low?
I'm not sure. It is interesting now that EA's exclusivity deal is starting to run out. I think it's through this year, maybe next year it expires. But yeah, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more Star Wars games come out now that EA has lost exclusivity for that. And I think there was a rumor Quantic Dream was making a Star Wars game, so like that could pop back up. I would love to see Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 pop back up. That would be great. And kind of see that officially announced, because that will have been, I guess in December, that'll have been 2 years since the first one came out, so it's possible. But I feel like for like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I feel like that would be better suited for like a bigger stage, like, you know, the Game Awards. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Apparently, this announcement is set to take place before the Game Awards, like a couple of days before. So it's not going to be in sync with that. But I agree, like something as big as Jedi Fallen Order probably shouldn't be announced on a little tweet or however they're announcing these.
Yeah, agreed.
But now I'm just like kind of thinking, because I think Fallen Order 2 just in general feels like too soon for that to be announced. I don't think that's like quite ready to get shown off yet. I mean, who knows what? Respawn. I almost said RuneScape. Who knows how far along they are? But like now, I'm kind of thinking like, I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility of having like some kind of, you know, formal written announcement with some kind of logo reveal on the 10th, and then have like, you know, tune into the Game Awards to see the full reveal. Like that could be a way to get kind of more eyes on the Game Awards, but who knows? I want to know when Star Wars: The Force Unleashed is coming back, and maybe this is the time.
Yes,
gonna bring it back.
Good game.
Thank you, Dan.
Moving on to our next story. Ghost Recon Frontline multiplayer test delayed indefinitely. I'm reading from GameSpot. The Ghost Recon Frontline closed testing period has been delayed indefinitely. Ubisoft announced today that it decided it would be best to postpone the testing period for reasons it did not explain, though it might have something to do with the backlash to the game's announcement. The development team is dedicated to creating the best experience possible, Ubisoft said. Thank you for your ongoing support. More details will be shared on the new date for Frontline's testing period at some point in the future. Frontline was announced as part of Ubisoft's 20th anniversary Ghost Recon stream. The game's announcement trailer was ratioed hard by viewers with 17,000 dislikes compared to 5,000 likes. So yeah, we talked a little bit about Frontline, I think last week, and how we were kind of I think we were on the 17,000 dislike side more than anything. And now it's been postponed indefinitely, at least the test has. And maybe it's for the reasons that this article alluded to maybe do something more creative with it, or maybe it's because they don't want to do it anymore. I don't know. Christian, what did you think? Or do you think it's anything to make a fuss about, or it's just, you know, they're going to take their time a bit more?
First of all, I've never disliked a video in my entire life. But I've wanted to. I've thought about it. Like what a beautifully passive aggressive thing it is to like without any words just explain how I feel about this one product.
Yeah.
No, I think it's I think it's I mean it sucks. It sucks that they have to like close down, postpone it indefinitely, but like it is what it is. Like when people are not interested in a product because we talked about this last week, your products seem too samey, they seem too stale, there's not enough like innovation, not just in your own products, but like the kind of like genre you're exploring. It's just it just isn't enough, And I feel like gamers, I think at this point, are looking for like fresh new takes on kind of games, and I don't think Frontline or some of the other Ubisoft titles are seem to be like the kinds of experiences people want. Then again, we have games like Far Cry who are like selling well and reviewing fairly well. So what do I know? I guess, but yeah.
Christian, I totally see you now as like a guy that goes on YouTube just disliking videos. Like, take that, I get to dislike you again. I don't know.
Never done it. It seems too harsh.
Passive aggressive. Dislike. No, I think it. Like, do you guys think that it's possible that this game never shows back up again? Like, they just forget it ever happened? The rug? Yeah. Like, I almost feel like they might do that. Like, they're just like, all right, let's just take our losses and like move this content to like something else. Like, take the content, like some of the maps or something, into Siege, or I don't know, just repurposing the content in some way. It almost feels like that.
Yeah, total abandonment would seem like too much of a loss of money for like if they're already going to do like some kind of multiplayer test for it. Repurposing those assets into some kind of DLC for games that like are existing and popular seems like a move where it would be like, okay, we're going to cut our losses but still be able to make some kind of profit off all this time invested. That's actually a good idea, Dan.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting, but I don't know. Who knows? It's Ubisoft, so they could do something crazy like make it a Far Cry game.
DLC for Far Cry.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I would. I don't know what I should say or how I feel. I like you said, I don't think that they should completely abandon it. Maybe they could repurpose, like you said, what they have made into something else, because as we also said, everything that they've made kind of samey, so it might just fit perfectly into something else. They could like drop it into any of their games and we wouldn't know that it was from something else. So yeah, hopefully they figure something out, and when they are ready to reveal whatever this is, that it isn't met with complete, hate, and they make something that they're proud of, I guess.
Yeah, that's go ahead, Dan.
No, you go ahead.
No, because I brought up a good point. Like I feel bad almost because I never want to see companies, or I never want to see teams, I should say, like these developers. Like I never want to see people fail, right? To be ratioed so hard by people online. But at the same time, like we have to communicate in some kind of way to like, listen, the products you're putting out there like just aren't up to standards. So yeah, hopefully if they can repurpose it into something else that people want to see.
In all seriousness, Rauw, you're totally spot on. Like they could put this in any of their games. Like almost all of their games are like the same. Like they just have different skins essentially. But yeah,
we shall see. Will we see? Only time will tell. Yeah. Moving on into the next story, Pokemon Legends Arceus isn't quite fully open world, confirms the Pokemon Company. I'm reading from Games Radar. Hope Belgium, right? Pokemon Legends Arceus isn't fully open world. The Pokemon Company has confirmed following a fan discovery. Following the reports, Pokemon Legends Arceus may not be fully open world and might instead have open world areas. The Pokemon Company has since confirmed that this is actually the case in a statement to Kotaku. The statement reads, quote, "In Pokemon Legends Arceus, Jubilife Village will serve as the base of surveying missions. After receiving an assignment or request and preparing for the next excursion, players will set out from the village to study one of the various open areas in Hisui region. After they finish the survey work, players will need to return once more to prepare for their next task. We look forward to sharing more information about exploring the Hisui region soon." Yeah, so the key terms in the statement seem to be quote, one of the various open world areas of the Hisui region, and Jubilife will serve as a base, which pretty much confirms one fan's previous theory about Pokemon Legends Arceus having segmented open areas. Yeah, so as the article writes, similar to Monster Hunter and Blade Chronicles. So Monster Hunter, I'm able to do the comparison to. So yeah, even looking at this picture in the article, I can't say that I'm completely let down by that. It is a bit of a bummer for sure that you can't just explore it completely. But Christian, how does the Pokemon Legends Arceus not being completely open world and then doing something a little bit more akin to Monster Hunter make you feel? Does it lessen your hype for the game if you had any hype in the first place?
Weirdly enough, it kind of doesn't bother me. Like I think people for the most part have faith in the kind of quality games that these Pokemon games eventually turn out to be. I wonder. The question is, I wonder why they chose not to do open world. I wonder if that's just a design philosophy that they choose to do for this title, or if just limitations of Switch hardware. But either way, I think at the end of the day, what's going to really judge it is based off the quality of these open world segments, as to if there's enough care and density in these segmented areas. I think it's going to be totally fine for when we eventually come and get it and play it and get to experience it with our own hands. Kind of a bummer though, because I think every Pokemon fan dream is to have an actual open game, but maybe with the Switch Pro, who knows?
Yeah. I totally agree with what you said, Christian. The thing that I kind of, again, this kind of goes back to my obsession with Obsidian, but the Outer Worlds is a perfect example of that, because it's very much a Fallout clone, but it's not a completely open world map. It's open areas. You go to planets, and those planets have open world areas. But that game does it perfectly, where you have these spaces that feel really large. Obviously, they're not as big as Fallout 3 or Fallout 4's map, but you have multiple different planets that you're going to that all have similar sized areas, and they all have very diverse landscapes and enemies and stuff like that. So it's very, very interesting. I think this is still fine for this. Obviously, fans, like you said, Christian, are going to be clamoring for that full open world Pokemon RPG, but I guess we have to keep waiting for it, because Arceus is not it.
Yeah, as I was saying, looking at this picture, I'm not too sure if I even want to go explore some of these areas.
Yeah.
It looks pretty barren, some of the areas that are on display sometimes. So if it's a little bit more condensed and there's more areas of interest, because it's more condensed, that's great. And I think Monster Hunter does a really good job with these open world areas in their games. Monster Hunter World is kind of the only one that I could compare to, because it's the only one that I've really played for a while. But yeah, if they could do that with a Pokemon skin, I'm down. So I'm not too bummed about this. I was looking forward to a completely open world Pokemon game, but reading this, I'm not completely disappointed or turned off. I'm still definitely going to check it out and probably enjoy myself.
And that's a good point too, Rauw, in that sometimes open world games doesn't necessarily translate to better games or better experiences. If it were to be completely open world, some segments might just feel too empty, and people would have complained that in this huge Pokemon game, it just feels kind of dead, and there's not a lot of things that make it feel alive. Whereas if it's just these segmented sections that are kind of these larger scale environments, then you have more opportunities to plant, other Pokemon, or these interesting locales, make it feel alive, even though it's not actually open world.
Yeah. Moving on to our next story, Riot patches out /all chat in match-made League of Legends games. So I'm reading from Game Informer John Carson. Online games can be fun for people to get together and jam out some rounds of their favorite games with friends. However, sometimes playing with strangers can be stressful and occasionally off-putting or even abusive. Riot Games has undoubtedly had the latter issues in their popular MOBA League of Legends, and is now taking more significant steps to curb inappropriate language during games. Riot announced in a blog post today that it's removing all chat function in the match-made games of League of Legends, eliminating global written banter between players from both teams in the match. Here's part of Riot's official statement regarding the change. While most of our focus around behavioral systems in 2021 has been on gameplay-based behaviors like AFKing and inting. I've never heard of that. What's that? Inting? I don't know. I guess I'll search that up later. We've heard from you that verbal abuse has been a rising problem this year too. We're working on a number of changes to systemically address this at both the League and Riot levels. But one direct change you'll see soon is that in patch 11.21, we're disabling all chat in match-made queues. And I gotta also just reiterate, all chat, it's not all chat, it's just the chat that allows you to communicate with all players in a specific moment in the matchmaking activity. But yeah, you can still chat with your teammates, I'm pretty sure, and at the end of the match, you can talk to enemies by spamming your emotes, it looks like. But at the beginning of the match, you can't just like throw horrible, terrible things at the enemy team and stuff like that. It's not a perfect solution, as John Carson writes, but anything that makes pickup games a more pleasing experience is a step in the right direction. Riot has not announced when patch 11.21 goes live, but should happen in the next week or two. Daniel,
yes.
What do you think about this change? Do you think it does enough? Do you think it's just a nice step in the right direction? What do you think about them removing all?
I think it's so I would almost compare this to, Twitch, with how the way Twitch has dealt with the whole issue with hate raids and all of that stuff. It seems like this is a very similar thing. Like, they're essentially saying, all right, we can't figure out how we filter properly and like get rid of words that we don't want to have in chat, spammed and all of this stuff and derogatory things. So they're just like, oh, let's just turn it off. Like, I hate this because like, I grew up playing Halo 2 when I was a little kid. Halo 2 was so much fun, and part of the fun of it was proximity chat. In the proximity chat, you could literally hear anyone within a certain radius of your player, and it became so much fun, just like, Splinter Cell back in the day, where you grab someone from behind and you're holding them and you can chat to them. Like, as a spy, you're holding the merc and you're like just whispering in their ear, like, hey, buddy, I got you. It's like, that stuff is so like cool, and like I wish that stuff was still, around nowadays. So I kind of wish they would just improve their tool sets for moderation, like have a chat filter, a profanity filter, that kind of stuff. Like, filter out the stuff that obviously is bad and people are spammy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's the issue, right? It's time, it's resources, it's figuring out how to implement those kinds of systems into a game, and not everyone has like the tool set to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing is just to have like a temporary fix, like just turning it off, which, I mean, is a temporary fix, so it's good in that regard, but it's bad in that like it doesn't really curb the issue, or it's just like leads to maybe less pleasant experiences. Like, I guess like Dan was pointing out, like, you can have memorable experiences with with chat, and so it's like, I don't know. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's a little bit of both at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Tough balance for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's a good step, hopefully in the right direction, that they continue to make take a little bit more time and energy to combat this issue, because it's a big issue for sure, and I think they should focus more on it. I know it's a hard one to tackle, but I think it's worth the time and effort. And for me, the most of the time where I get like a lot of harassment, it's with my own teammates. It's almost never the opposite team that's being mean to me. It's usually the people that I'm playing with. Like, yeah. So maybe they could.
I'm assuming you've never played Valorant, Rauw.
I have not, actually.
One of the most toxic games I've ever played in my entire goddamn life.
Oh my gosh!
For no reason. Why are people like this? Just be nice.
I don't know.
Dude,
that's.
You have 2 kills and 17 deaths. What are you doing?
Dude, I'll be playing well and I'm still getting trashed on by people. Like, why?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the reason why I left League behind. I tried like a couple of games and it's just I can't practice because no one is allowing me to practice. Oh man. I mean, I could against bots, but as soon as I get into an actual game, yeah, it's downhill from there. But moving on to our next story, I'm going to try and move a little bit faster for the next stories because we are going a bit long. But the next story is FIFA reportedly wants to charge EA $1 billion every 4 years to keep the FIFA name. So apparently earlier this week, EA was considering changing the name of FIFA, its giant football franchise, and now we may have a better reason as to why. The New York Times reports that there's a dispute between EA, the developer of the FIFA games, and FIFA, the worldwide football organization. The disagreement is reportedly over the cost of new revenue streams. So holy moly, that's a lot of money for every 4 years. So do you think EA is going to keep that FIFA title, or do you think they're probably go the more money-friendly route and change it?
Listen, I don't blame them if they did. Like, FIFA is notoriously like we give shit to EA, but FIFA is notoriously one of the worst companies out there. Like, they are hungry for money. Case in point, the next World Cup is in Qatar, and that, like, there are tons of issues. It's like, why is that there? Like, I won't even get into that. So I don't blame EA for choosing to go dump the assets that you normally would be using and like spending money on like the FIFA name. Put that into like evolving your game. Like that'd be clutch.
That'd be great.
I'll just let Christian's comments speak for it because he's our soccer expert.
The USA is literally playing right now against Costa Rica for World Cup qualifying. And the USA is winning.
Go US.
Yeah. Moving on to our next story, PlayStation VR is celebrating 5 years of PlayStation gaming. The most played games globally are as follows: Rec Room, Beat Saber, PlayStation VR Worlds, Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim VR, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. They also announced that they'll be giving away some games in November, some free PlayStation VR games. I think 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. Next or November. So look out for those if you're a PlayStation VR player. You're getting some free games in next month. Heck yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna hope that those are backwards compatible by the time PSVR 2 rolls around. I've been racking in like a bunch of free games from PSVR that I don't want to connect all these wires or whatever.
Yeah. But that would be nice. Yeah. I would like that too.
Also, everyone go play Astrobot Rescue Mission. What are you doing? That's like probably the best PSVR game out there.
Yes.
Just from playing Astro's Playroom, I mean, I can definitely see that happening. Such a good game.
So, another story from IGN and Jared Moore. Epic Games has finally acknowledged that Fortnite's Cloak and Dagger style imposter game mode was inspired by Innersloth's Among Us. No one is surprised there, but it's nice to hear them finally say it. I'm sure Innersloth feels the same way, and there's an update to this article as well. Epic Games appears to have buried the hatchet with Innersloth. In a new post on Twitter, the official Fortnite account joked about how Among Us, quote, inspired us and teased collaboration with Innersloth. Quote, big fans, Fortnite account wrote, we never got to talk about how you inspired us. What do you think about working on something fun together sometime? So that would be really cool, I think. I don't know. Christian, I see you shaking your head.
We ain't forget, man. All this stuff inspired. Like it's fun. We all know that you blatantly ripped it off and stole it and have totally avoided Innersloth altogether. But sure, now that you got like some negative press about that, it's finally after like months after, it's time to roll around and like collaborate with them. I mean, at least they're talking now, which is good for Innersloth and getting this dub.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Fortnite is essentially a stolen idea off of PUBG, which PUBG stole off of other people who made Battle Royale games in the past. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny how video games work.
It sure is. It sure is. You know what else is funny? Fortnite might be a movie someday. Fortnite feature film is being considered as a part of the plans for a new Epic Games Entertainment division. The movie into scripted video programming was reported by the information and comes as Epic revenues have been hit by its instability to expand further on iPhones and Android devices. A push into the entertainment sector would bolster Epic's coffers and Fortnite movie has reportedly, quote, already been discussed. So how excited would you be for a Fortnite movie?
What is a Fortnite movie? Is it like are they pulling in all these properties from all these
Ready
companies?
Player One.
Marvel, DC, everybody in the Fortnite movie? Like, what is a Fortnite movie? I don't even know what that would be at this point.
The last, maybe it's second to last at this point. Like one of the season cinematics was directed by the Russo brothers.
True.
And like I watched it, like it was actually like a decent cinematic.
It was actually
it was. Like they've got oh my god. If they can get the directors, and I'm sure if they get the animation studio they partner with to tell like a decent story, oh my god, this is gonna be huge. Fortnite is already big. You're gonna have a movie on top of this. You know how many families are gonna go out to see the Fortnite movie? I will not be there. There's no way I will be in that theater. But like, cool. Congratulations, Epic.
All right. If anyone's out there that's listening to the podcast, if you see Christian in the movie theater watching this movie, take a picture.
I'm already going to see the Mario movie. I will not go see the Fortnite movie.
Oh, man. Yeah, that'll be a sight to see. My God. But it's Christian. I know you like Sable. You enjoyed that game. Am I correct? Apparently,
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to me. Okay.
I was, yeah, sort of. I just wanted to say, did you know that Raw Fury is potentially making a Sable game or movie? They're working on adapting some of their games for TV and film. Some of them include Sable, Nightcall, and Mosaic adaptations. So how excited would you be, maybe not for a Fortnite movie, but for a Sable TV show? Do you think that would be a good adaptation?
Absolutely. From the little that I've played as Sable, I need to get back to it because I had some projects to work on. Like that is right for like the exploration of like kind of a coming of age story. Like if it's a a 1 season show or like a 80-minute movie, I think that would have like that is so powerful. Honestly, when I'm playing Sable, the first thing I thought of is like this should be a book. And if you haven't played Sable, you won't know what I'm saying. But like a lot of it, like you get that introspection from the main character as if like we're reading a book, like you're inside the character's head that you don't normally see in a lot of video games. So yeah, I would absolutely love this.
And moving on to our final story, Daniel.
Yes.
Season 8 of Halo Master Chief Collection. The Master Chief Collection,
Something
Season
like
8. It's here. It's here. And it comes with 100 new tiers of customization options. They're coming to Halo 3, including an armor pack, back accessories, visors, and customization options for weapons and vehicles, and a new map. Oh my gosh. And there's a lot more that I didn't even mention. Daniel, how excited are you for Season 8?
Very excited. Very excited. I cannot wait to play after the podcast ends tonight. Of course, more Master Chief Collection. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to point out, though, like, so it was either last season or the season before, we talked about at the top of the show, I kind of hinted at it a little bit. Halo CE's visuals had issues because of the Gearbox port to PC on PC on Windows Vista or whatever the hell CE came out on. And that's the version of the game that's in Master Chief Collection. They fixed those visual issues in Halo CE. This, in Season 8, they are fixing visual issues in Halo 2 Classic mode, which is the original graphics of Halo 2, because that was also grabbed from the Gearbox port of Halo 2 on PC. And the reason why they use those ports was because it's easier to port from PC than it is from an original Xbox game. So I'm looking at the screens where they show the before and after, and I'm like, yes, like this is so much better. Like I'm so glad that they continue to improve upon this game and make it the best and definitive version of every Halo game. Because like what we were talking about before, it's important to keep the legacy while still, moving things forward. And I feel like they've done a really good job with that, with adding new maps and stuff like that to games that are 15 years old. So very excited.
Heck yeah. And to round out the PXN news of the week, I have a very, very important announcement. Animal Crossing Direct is this Friday. Be there or don't if you don't care. But I'm very excited. It's coming back. I'm so excited. Can't wait to see what they have to announce then. And we'll talk about that, of course, next week. But Daniel.
Yes.
What you got for me?
Well, I don't got Metroid Dread. I'm sorry, guys. I let you down. You both have played it. I have not. I played the Battlefield 2042 beta last weekend, though. Had a lot of fun with that, and they fixed a ton of stuff from the last time I definitely didn't play it. So it was a much more polished experience, and it was really fun to play. One of the clips that I saw on Twitter that someone posted, insane. You jump off the skyscraper, and apparently, if you use the grapple while you're falling from the sky, if you use the grapple, it eliminates all fall damage. So then you can literally propel yourself across the map going super fast. And it's the best thing I've ever seen. I hope they don't patch it out because it's so funny to watch. And I've also been playing Back 4 Blood. I played with my buddy last night. We played quite a bit of it, actually. Played through the entire first act of it, of the co-op campaign. Had a lot of fun with that. There are some, issues with it, and I do feel like the responsiveness of the controls is definitely an issue. It doesn't feel like super smooth for a FPS. Like, it's kind of very similar to the beta and alpha versions of the game. Like, it just doesn't feel like super clean to use the sticks, I guess, so to speak. I don't know how it feels on mouse and keyboard because I don't play on mouse and keyboard, but yeah, overall it's really fun. It's Back 4 Blood, back to Left 4 Dead. So very excited, very excited. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Christian, what do you got for me?
I forgot that we expanded this segment into just other stuff in general. So I want to shout out that last week I mentioned that I was playing Jet the Far Shore for review. Since then I have finished that review. I made the thumbnail. I wrote the article. I did the video on it, and that's out today. It dropped. I am very proud of it, and you should maybe consider checking that out. Jet review over on the Penultimate Conquest. A lot of blood into it. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Of course, this is the hot new item that everyone's has been talking about on Twitter and playing, Metroid Dread.
What?
Which is
what? I didn't even realize you had that up there, Rauw. Like, I saw Christian with it earlier, but he had it there the whole time.
It was there the whole
It's
what
the
the
first
hell?
thing he did as well. When I showed it, Rauw grabbed it.
I just went like this.
Jeez.
And for good reason. Mercury Stream. What's the developer? Mercury.
Maybe it says on the box.
Gosh, I'm blanking. I think it's Mercury Steam. I want to get the name right before.
It's Mercury something for sure. I don't remember the last part of it.
Mercury Steam.
Mercury
Steam, yeah. Knocked it out of the freaking park. I was talking to my friend about Dread today, and it's not my favorite 2D side scroller. Obviously, Metroidvania, the term Metroidvania comes from Metroid games. But it's not my favorite. I think my standard now is Hollow Knight. That game is a masterpiece. But God, does Dread get close. The characterization of Samus is one of my favorites that I've seen. She is such a badass. It is so cool. The segments where the game goes from 2D to more 3D, or where you're going into stuff in the background, the boss fights, the atmosphere. This game continues to bang. I can't wait till after this. I'm gonna make dinner and then continue to play. I have to try to space my playtime out a bit because I don't want to rush entirely through it. But it's so hard to stop.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm also playing Metroid Dread right now, and yeah, it's a fantastic game. And again, as someone who hasn't been a part of this franchise for a very long time, I've played Fusion, I played a little bit of Zero Mission, but never to completion. This is definitely going to be my first Metroid game that I've beaten, and yeah, I'm having a blast. And as Christian said, Samus is such a badass. I don't know if it's been this cool. I feel like she has, but to this extent, I don't know if she's ever been characterized this well. And it's just really cool to see her, like you said, in these cutscenes. There's so many that I want to shout out, but I don't want to spoil anything. But there's just so many moments that you're just she's done this before. She just knows what to do. But yeah, it's so cool to watch her even in gameplay. In the cutscenes, obviously there's a more character shown, but her just sliding around and just dodging the Emmy, and it's so cool. It's fun to play. The controls are really good. There's a couple of things that kind of upset me. There's sometimes when you're stuck in a room, sometimes it's the most the most ridiculous thing to get you out of that room. Sometimes it's just you need to shoot the floor, and it's like, how is I supposed to know?
Metroid. It's insane.
Apparently,
that's just
apparently
Metroid.
I just expect that stuff, but yeah, there'll be times where it's like, just shoot the floor. It's like, how am I supposed to know to shoot the floor? There's nothing like distinct to make me feel like this looks different than the one that I'm not supposed to shoot. So that could be a little frustrating sometimes, but when you get it, you're like, finally I got it, now I could move on to the next area. But yeah, having a blast with Dread, and I cannot wait to see where it ends.
The wildest thing about this is like, I think the level design, again, it's not my standard as for like Metroidvania games, but it's getting close to like, it's open world, and like there's all these like different places that you're traveling to, but it's smart in that there's kind of like almost a linear path that you're forced to go on through these locales based off like the whatever abilities you have, or I guess in this case don't have yet, that you kind of have to follow, and like working your way through all these places that you've been there before and revisiting places with new gadgets, and it still leads you to like the next place you have to go is like so
It's
smartly
really
designed. Yeah.
Definitely,
And I do want to shout out Rauw. Go ahead.
No, sorry.
I just wanted to shout out as well that the body language of Samus is like, she like moves with like such confidence and like badassery. Like one of my favorite things to do is like parry, and then the way she like slides into like to aim, and you can just shoot. Like it's so cool, dude.
So awesome.
Play it, Dan.
Yes,
play it.
I need to.
Play it.
I need to.
Yes. Yeah, I did say I was frustrated with the certain rooms just being like, how do I get out of here? And just no, and that's what the game is, like you said, Christian. You're supposed to figure out. It's supposed to be a little bit more difficult. But I do agree that the level design is really, really, really good. Like when you go to an area, it's like, oh, I turned on this switch, so I can't go back this way, so I have to keep going this way. But how do I get out of this room? I don't, like, what do I do? So you just like search around, like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this. Like, oh, this is so cool. I love figuring it out, but I also hate it at the same time. But yeah, super great. Play Metroid Dread. It's awesome. We want more games like this. So
there's no bright orange glowing floor for you to shoot at.
No, come on, give me that, please. But moving on to our topic of the show, our Game of the Year contenders. Guys, the Game Awards it's only like 2 months away. We're getting closer and closer to the Game Awards. This is crazy. It's crazy to think that we're close to the Game Awards. It's also crazy to think that 2021 is almost over. But that's crazy. But yeah, let's start off with games that we think are going to be on the list, and then we'll go into our personal Game of the Years, like games that we love personally, but maybe they won't be on the list. Jeff Keighley's awards, but yeah, I'll start with myself to give you, if you guys weren't ready.
Sure.
Just in case. So my first one that I have on here that I think will be on the Game of the Year list at Jeff Keighley's Game of the Awards is Ratchet & Clank by Insomniac Games. I feel like that's going to be on the list. I feel like it's a family-friendly game as well. You always got to have one of that a mass audience can enjoy. And I think it's really well done. I haven't played it personally, obviously. I'm definitely one of the people that was on the outside looking in. But everything that I've seen seems fantastic. The technology, Insomniac always knocks it out of the park with these types of games. They've been on a winning streak, so I think that's going to be one of the games that's going to be nominated for Game of the Year. Ratchet & Clank: A Rift Apart for the PlayStation 5.
I think that's a great nominee. I think it's going to be a harder sell to have that be like an actual Game of the Year winner when you have like some other titles that we'll get to. But yeah, it's a good pick. I could see that winning to like best, like, I don't know, family game, or do they have that category anymore? I forget if they do or not.
I'm not sure. Or
best animation or something.
Yeah,
I can see this winning other categories and then giving Game of the Year to a separate game, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Christian, what do you think?
I think you're going to be out of your, like, I don't I personally agree with this, but you are out of your mind if you don't think Deathloop is going to be one of the Game of the Year nominations. Like, people loved Arcane's new game. I understand it. I played it. I had a good enough time with it. To everyone saying that, like, when like, oh yeah, Deathloop is one of my Game of the Years, I automatically think, okay, cool. This tells me you have not played The Forgotten City, which is far and away way better, like, time loop game. But like, Deathloop does have a lot of great stuff going for it. Like, its art design, its VO, it's like level design, its gameplay is really satisfying. So I think it's a strong choice nominee for game of the year. Certainly a contender.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Like,
Sorry.
no, you're good. Like a personal one and one that I totally could see being up there is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart as well, Rauw. Like I love that game. I told you guys that last week. I finally beat it after many months of putting it like aside. I was like, I have other things I'm doing, but I love that game so much, and I hope that they give credit to Insomniac because I feel like it's the best game I've played thus far this year. Obviously, I haven't played Deathloop yet. I know a lot of people are high on Returnal, so that might be another one.
Talking straight at me.
But like one that's coming up soon that we've just recently seen previews for, Forza Horizon 5, seems to be getting really good like previews right now. Obviously, the game's not out yet; it's still a month away or so. But I'm very excited to play that as well because like I love the Horizon games and think they do an amazing job of making a world that's just so living and breathable, and I love it so much. And yeah, Mexico, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
That would be a hard sell, I think, for a lot of people for game of the year.
Oh
though.
yeah,
like, racing games it's more niche, right?
Totally. It will never be nominated. It's gonna be like more of a personal,
Yeah. Best racing game.
Mind-blowing stuff's coming out of like Forza Horizon like previews on Twitter though. Like I think there was like the photo mode just looks absolutely insane. How is that game like that good looking? I don't get it.
And Christian, one of the favorite parts that you spoke about Halo the Master Chief Collection was Forge. You were excited about that, seeing that on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
And Forza Horizon 5 has a really cool, like similar mode to Forge where you can build like custom mini games, and they're just like wacky mini games you can create. So I feel like that could be, something cool to check out as well.
Dan, in the shower, I was thinking about Forza either today or yesterday. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like actually like get it.
Yeah.
You just sold me.
Boom.
Custom tracks. Yeah, I'm in. Totally.
It's so good. So good.
All right. And how many more do you guys have for the official quote unquote game of the year list before we move into our personal ones? If you have any.
Maybe like two more.
I kind of talked about both. Whoops, sorry.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's why I asked. So if you have two more, I'll say my two. Christian, I guess you could say your two, and then from Daniel on we could just go into our personal ones and our from there on. So my two for the that may be on your list as well, Christian. But I think Resident Evil Village might be on the list as well.
Totally.
And I maybe I'm crazy, but I think a Metroid Dread might get on the official list as well. But yeah, RE Village, and I haven't played RE Village. Metroid Dread, obviously, you guys know I have been playing. But yeah, I've heard great things about both, obviously. But RE Village, obviously, I'm on the outside looking in. Heard good things, so I think I could see that making it a Metroid Dread. I feel like can definitely make it as well, kind of revamping the series as it did. So yeah, those are my last two for the official list. Ratchet and Clank, RE Village, and Metroid Dread were my picks.
Nice. I mean, I was going to mention Dread and Village as well. So because you mentioned those, I'll bring up two other ones that I think could have the possibility of getting nominated. I think Life is Strange True Colors, like that game was beloved enough and good enough to potentially be. Winning is a separate discussion, but certainly being nominated, I think, has the potential to be in the list of games. Usually, there's around like 5, I think, games total. So I could totally see Life is Strange being in there. And then Dan mentioned it earlier, but I think Returnal. I think there's enough power there. People enough who like appreciated like the design and like world building and atmosphere and gameplay of Returnal for it to be like, yeah, I can nominate this game. Whether it wins or not, I think is again another discussion, but certainly a contender.
For sure.
Shout out Hitman 3, but I don't think you're going to be nominated.
I have Hitman 3 on my list too.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, like you said, I agree with both of you. Like Resident Evil Village, Deathloop, and Ratchet and Clank were the three that I was instantly thinking of being up there for the official list or whatever. So I definitely could see that. But yes, Hitman 3, I totally agree with you, Christian. That's on my personal game of the year list. Like I think IO did an amazing job of expanding what the Hitman games did, and that game is so good. Especially like you think about like if you import all the content from Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 into Hitman 3, you get all of that content from Hitman 1, Hitman 2, and Hitman 3 in one game, and it's all like on the newest engine and all the new features and everything. It's so good.
Also, the mission in the mansion, like amazing.
Very good.
Daniel, do you have any more personal game of the year?
So,
picks?
I mean, obviously, guys, if we're talking about calendar year 2021,
oh, here we go.
we have to talk about Halo Infinite. And yes, it's not out yet. It's out in December, and it's probably not going to be on the eligible games for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards because of the timing of everything. But in terms of calendar year 2021, there's not a more anticipated game for me, obviously, than this game, and I am just so freaking anticipating that campaign. That's honestly bigger than multiplayer, bigger than everything else. That campaign is what I want to see and like play and experience, because it's been 6 years. 6 years? Yeah. 6 years since Halo 5. I just want to get that bad taste of Halo 5's campaign out of my mouth.
Oh man, 343. This game better be good.
Yes.
This game better be good for Daniel's sake.
Yes.
Please.
Let's hope the Infinite multiplayer is as good as 4, though.
Oh.
Christian.
I mean, am I?
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. That's the sad part.
So I'm just gonna run through my personal one real quick, and if you guys and Christian, of course, I'll let you go after. But obviously, Life is Strange: True Colors, obviously, is on my personal game of the year list. It's at my number one personal game of the year right now. Still, I loved that game through and through. I think the characters are fantastic. Alex is amazing. I love the story, and obviously, I think it's the best in the series as well. And I just think, like most Life is Strange games, they always hit a personal, emotional chord with me, and it's like, dang, everything that you're saying right now, I needed to hear. This is like perfect timing, amazing. Thank you so much. Don't nod. So, obviously, that's at the top of my list. Everhood is a game that I keep bringing up for the Game of the Year stuff. I want more people to play it. It is so good. I loved it. It's a great indie game. I think it's the first by the studio. It's kind of a Undertale light, but the combat's definitely a bit different. But in terms of story and characters, it's very similar to Undertale. Number 3 on my list is Eastward. Still haven't beaten it yet, but I'm loving it so far. I doubt that by the time I finish it, I'm going to hate it somehow. So Eastward definitely on my list as well. Persona 5 Strikers. Love that game. Love Persona in general, and I think they did a great job bringing those characters into a completely different gameplay style and still making it still feel like Persona. So I love Persona 5 Strikers, and Metroid Dread, of course, is also on my list. Having a blast with that, and I think it deserves to be on the Game of the Year list this year. So yeah, those are my 5 personal favorite ones. Christian, take it away.
Kira Craft in Twitch chat says 12 minutes.
12 minutes? Oh.
Yeah.
I power to you if you enjoyed that game.
Christian, you know that I got freaking frustrated with it because we were on a freaking video call with each other, and I'm like, how do I solve this? And you're like, I don't know.
Dude, we were on that call for like a solid, like, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes, like figuring out all these like possibilities for you to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
And all you had to like go back and do like one extra thing. That's so weird, dude.
Yeah.
It
was broken because every time I did that scene, I went straight to the fridge to grab the picture, and she interrupted me getting the picture, so it glitched out and didn't have the whole interaction there, so I couldn't progress the game. I was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like,
12 minutes, man.
Yeah. It was interesting, at least.
And I will just say, Everhood is $10.99, and that's Canadian dollars, guys. Imagine how cheap it is in America. Just saying.
It's like $6 or something. I don't know. $8.
But yes, Christian. Sorry. What are your personal? ones.
Legit, I have like 3 Game of the Year contenders right now, and if I'm thinking about it more, it's more like 2. But I want to. I'm not done with it yet. But I legit want to throw Metroid Dread in that conversation of Game of the Year contenders. Like this, we've already talked enough about like how fantastic this game is, so I won't belabor the point there. But it's a very, very good video game that is worth your time and money. Shucks to all those people on Twitter being like, "Oh, $60, like let's compare games." Like, dude, what are you doing?
To be fair, it was one guy being really stupid, and everybody pooped on him.
Very fair. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, silly.
2, another game that I continue to press on everyone is the Forgotten City. Like that game, legit, probably has the best narrative game that I've experienced this year, or in fact, even in the last few years. Like the design of how you unfold the narrative of figuring out the mystery of the Forgotten City is one of my favorite games. Like it's in my top 100 of all time now. And so is my number 1 pick, I think, so far, which is Returnal. It is hard to top that game for me. I'm sorry. I know it's very like PS like pony fanboy of me, but like legit, like that is my type of game. Like Housemarque, I love you so much. That gameplay is so tight. The atmosphere, the world of Atropos is like curiosity driven and fascinating to me. Like doing analysis on the story with my friend Hugo on Large Popcorn was like the most fun I've had just talking about this game. And then just like I guess the sound design and score. Like when I think of like Game of the Year, I'm thinking of masterclass in all these levels of game development, and I think for me, Returnal just hits all those in strides, and it just speaks to me on like the games I'm interested in. So that's why I think it's GOTY for me.
Nice.
Yep. Like I already talked about Ratchet. That's on my personal. Hitman 3. I already talked about that. Resident Evil Village is that's the game that was my Game of the Year before I finished Ratchet and Clank, and I love that game so much. And I was one of the ones like, man, why are we going back to first person again? You know, Resident Evil 7 was great, but like, was it Resident Evil? But Resident Evil Village, fantastic. I absolutely love that game. The boss battles were all really cool, very original. And even the replayability of that game is so good. And yeah, I love it. Give me some more Resident Evil, Capcom. Keep it coming.
I should play Village. I skipped it this year. Should go back.
Definitely.
I have to play 4 on my quest first.
Yeah. That's gonna be. Oh, that'll be. You'll have to let me know how that is.
Will do.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we wrap up the show today? What's up?
Drink water.
Drink water. I should. Yes. Thank you. I will get on that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Stitcher. Thank you, Sean. No, thank you.
Don't thank him. He's not here.
It's not even written here. I was like, my name is. It says thank you, Rauw. And I was like, okay, I can't say that. I gotta say one of these guys' names, and I say the person who isn't here. Okay, anyways. Thank you, Christian. Yeah, I could have said Gage too. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Daniel. I'm Rashan. This has been Podcast PXN. Later will be greater.
Much love.
Watch Dune next week.